Hi there. Welcome to A Tale of Twin Towns, a case study on natural capital degradation. So, this case study is presenting to you the fictional tale of two neighboring towns that have recently experienced a growth boom and are now suffering the environmental consequences. It's going to give you an opportunity to really explore a wide variety of anthropogenic or human-induced causes of natural capital degradation. You're going to be assigned the role of scientists working for a regional Department of Environmental Resources Management team, and it is your job to discover the underlying causes for a variety of citizen complaints, and you're going to wind up suggesting reasonable and cost-effective solutions. The natural resources that are considered in this case study include forests, food and soil, water, and geologic resources. And as you can see here, the things that you're going to need to really kind of become expert on in this case study are listed here on the slide in front of you. You've got deforestation, acid rain, cultural eutrophication, the pollution of surface and groundwater, and acid mine drainage. You're going to wind up working together in groups of 3 or 4. I would recommend that you choose wisely in terms of picking your group mates. I did not create groups for you. I'm going to go ahead and let that happen in class. You guys can pick who you're going to work with. The process for this whole thing, you're going to wind up organizing the presented data. You're going to categorize the symptoms. You're going to investigate the citizens' complaints. You're going to hypothesize the causes, you're going to probe the different scenarios, and you're going to predict the underlying reasons. And then after you assess all the symptoms, you're finally going to need to evaluate the situation in order to determine the solutions. In order to find those solutions, you're going to have to determine the cause and effect relationships, really by looking at data and analyzing data. You're going to wind up identifying and exploring preventive measures. You're going to investigate the actual impacts of acid rain by using something like Google Maps. You're also going to look at economic aspects of ecological conservation. There is a PowerPoint presentation that will be found on Google Classroom that is kind of a wrap-up or introduction / wrap-up kind of analysis of all the different things that are going on in these towns. So overall, the objectives of this, we're going to look at the environmental effects of extracting mineral resources. We're going to look at the transmission of diseases via water. You're going to predict the effects of acid deposition on plants and soil. You're going to take a look at the effect of human activities on the concentration of greenhouse gases in the troposphere. You're going to wind up describing and summarizing the effects of various water pollutants on surface and groundwater. You're going to look at the causes leading to cultural eutrophication, how to reduce them. You're going to explain how groundwater can be contaminated. And then you're going to take a look at measures and recommend measures to prevent groundwater contamination. So again, as you are going through and really trying to attack all of the things that are going on here in these twin towns, you are going to need to kind of search out some current news articles from different sources to be able to enhance your understanding. By exposing yourself to these real-world situations, it's going to give you guys an idea about how different agencies across the country and even across the world are dealing with natural capital degradation in real-life situations. So like I said before, working in groups of 3 or 4. Each group should probably be assigned a responsibility for becoming the group expert on one of the following 4 natural resource degradation topics. Those topics are 1, deforestation and its effects on the environment, especially on climate, soil, and biodiversity. So we're going to have a deforestation expert. Secondly, we're going to look at an expert on the removal and processing of non-renewable resources. Third, we're going to have an expert on air pollution, especially when dealing with acid deposition and acid rain. And then finally, the last expert is going to be on the pollution of surface and groundwater reservoirs. You're going to have 3 full class periods with technology to be able to put this together. This is for the week of March 13th through the 17th, and then again on March 20th for second block. So like I said, you will have 3 full class days to work on this. The due date will be Tuesday, March 21st for 6th and 7th block, and Wednesday, March 22nd for 2nd block. Let's go ahead and get into the case study a little bit. So the case study is in front of you, and it talks about a tale of these twin towns. So on the beautiful pearly white beaches of Blue Lagoon, you will find a big city called Sea Star. Until recently, Sea Star was a tourist attraction, but now tourists no longer find it an ideal vacation spot. In the last 10 years, an offshore oil drilling has changed the city completely. Oil refining industries have popped up like mushrooms on a rotting log. To transport their products, a big railway station was built. As industrialization increased, the mayor sanctioned an airport on the outskirts of the city, which has been operating at capacity for the last 7 years. Several miles to the east of Sea Star, the plains give way to the lovely ranges of the blue-green mountains. Nestled in these mountains in the thickets of tropical trees, you will find our first town, Topville. Topville is on the windward side of Sea Star. As you climb down the rocky terrain and reach the valley on the other side, you come across the shores of a lovely expanse of fresh water called Crystal Lake. As the name suggests, the lake's water is crystal clear. Settled on the other side of the shore of Crystal Lake, you'll find our second town, Bottomville. Topville and Bottomville are considered twin towns because they share the water from Crystal Lake. Most of the water supply for Bottomville comes from Crystal Lake. However, as you go away from the lake, the population of Bottomville becomes sparse, and the source of fresh water changes from the lake to a few bore wells from an underground, confined aquifer. Many families have lived happily in these twin towns for generations. The primary means of livelihood for people in Topville is the logging of tall trees. The majority of the people of Bottomville make their living via agriculture. A small but not insignificant number of people from both towns make their living by fishing in Crystal Lake. Lately, though, the rosy picture of this simple and happy life in the twin towns has been changing. A big mining company has acquired the slopes around Topville and has begun coal strip mining. A new plant has started to produce pesticides as well as artificial fertilizers on the outskirts of Bottomville. Due to the economic opportunities, the population of the twin towns has grown rapidly, especially in Bottomville, where there is more room for development. Furthermore, the rapid economic growth of Sea Star has attracted a lot of professionals who prefer to live in the twin towns and commute rather than live in the polluted industrial environment of Sea Star. To develop land for this growing population, the twin towns had to clear a considerable amount of old-growth forest that their ancestors never touched. In addition, because of the increased demand for water, more wells are being dug as the developments crawl eastward on the expanding boundaries of Bottomville. In the beginning, both towns welcomed the mining and the pesticide plant as they created new job opportunities. Residents welcomed the wave of developers since they thought that the increasing population would bring in more revenue. Both mayors of the twin towns wanted to fulfill their election promises to modernize, and they thought that the economic growth would bring prosperity. However, these days the mayoral offices are bombarded with complaints from the scared and concerned citizens. The most common issues are the following. The secondary forests of tropical trees are showing weak growth, succumbing to various insect infestations, and collapsing suddenly. The vegetation surrounding the coal strip mine has vanished entirely, leaving not a single blade of growing grass. There is a sharp rise in bladder and lung cancer cases among baby boomers. The number of cases of blue baby syndrome has tripled in Bottomville. There's a sudden rise in the number of cases of crippling backbone and neck damage. The few dental offices are overwhelmed with a variety of dental problems rarely seen before in the communities. The frequency of outbursts of diarrhea and dysentery has increased during wet seasons. And the water of Crystal Lake is showing a distinct green tinge with excessive weed growth and is cloudy most of the time. The fishermen are complaining about a decreased catch compared to just 5 years before. The mayors of twin towns are completely baffled, and they've vowed to work together to get to the bottom of these issues as quickly as possible. They've contacted the Department of Environmental Resources Management. You are a chief scientist working for this organization, and you have a strong background in organic chemistry, industrial waste management, and ecology. When you arrive at Bottomville, you're pleasantly surprised to meet John, a young environmentally conscious graduate from Sea Star University. He's been tracking the dissolved oxygen content in Crystal Lake for the last 8 years, and he shares this information with you. As you can see on page 2 of your case study, that data table is right there in front of you. You find another important piece of information in the local library archives. The town records show that the rock surrounding the aquifer is rich in fluoride. This is why the municipality did not grant any permits to develop land in the outskirts for the last several decades. This is now where a lot of developments are being built and wells are being dug. Somehow this important information was lost in the passage of time. The leader of the local environmental group, Sam, along with other members, meets you to convey their anger towards the big corporation that owns the pesticide plant. Their investigation has revealed that the waste pool of the pesticide factory does not have lining on the bottom or on the sides, as the factory wanted to save some money. This is the third important piece of information. So here's your assignment. The story is rich in details about industrial environmental pollution. Your job is to find out the cause for each of the identified citizen complaints and suggest a reasonable and cost-effective solution. You've got to incorporate all the details into your analysis as you carry out the following tasks. You're going to need to draw a map displaying all the details that are provided in the case study. Use arrows to indicate the movement of wind currents, all the pollutants, etc. Make sure you label everything. You're going to compose a report that follows the guidelines that are laid out here. You've got to incorporate all the data that's included in the story. For each problem that you identify, you have to clearly describe in detail the cause and effect and then propose a solution. Be creative. You can use any format to tell your story. You can do a news report on like iMovie or something like that. You can do a journal entry. You can create an analytic scientific paper. You can do a PowerPoint presentation, whatever. But be creative with it. I want you to recommend preventive measures for the future to the mayors who would like to continue the industrial and economic development of the two towns. And you are required to incorporate the concepts on the next slide into your analysis and report. Okay, and these are the concepts that you've got to put in there, and these are listed on page 3 of your case study. Again, the key part of this, all right, is to make sure you're addressing all of the issues, get to the bottom of why they might be happening based on the information that you've been given. I want you to be creative in your product, all right? If you want to make a video, make a video. If you want to be some kind of like Dateline report, great, okay? Just be thorough, be detailed, all right? Address each of the issues. As I said before, you have 3 class periods to work on this. And due dates are Tuesday, March 21st for B Day and Wednesday, March 22nd for A Day. Enjoy yourselves. Good luck.